Sunday, June 28th, 2026. Today's World News Headline Summary 1. CNN. 1.1. Death toll tops 920 as rescuers dig for trapped quake victims in Venezuela. The death toll from the catastrophic back-to-back earthquakes in Venezuela has tragically surpassed 920, with hundreds more individuals still unaccounted for amidst the widespread rubble. A 7.5 magnitude quake struck less than a minute after an initial 7.24 shock, causing unprecedented devastation across the capital city of Caracas and surrounding coastal provinces. International rescue teams, including specialized units from the United States, are actively racing against time to locate survivors before the critical 72-hour search window officially closes. Our first priority is that help is on the way, emphasized a Red Cross official, underscoring the extreme urgency of the humanitarian mission. However, the nation's pre-existing economic turmoil and fragile infrastructure continue to severely complicate and hinder comprehensive international relief efforts. Vocabulary. Catastrophic. Adjective. 폭렬적인, 대재앙의. The hurricane had a catastrophic impact on the coastal town. Surpass. Verb. 능가하다, 넘어서다. The actual cost surpassed all our initial estimates. Unaccounted for. Adjective. 행방이 묘연한, 실종된. Dozens of people are still unaccounted for after the fire. Rubble. Noun. 돌무더기, 잔해. Rescuers carefully dug through the rubble to find survivors. Foreshock. Noun. 전진. 본진 이전의 지진. A small foreshock warned residents before the main earthquake. Devastation. Noun. 대대적인 파괴, 황폐화. The war brought unimaginable devastation to the region. Race against time. Idiom. 시간과의 싸움을 하다. The medical team was in a race against time to save the patient. Urgency. Noun. 긴급, 위급. The crisis was handled with a great sense of urgency. Turmoil. Noun. 혼란, 소동. The sudden policy change threw the stock market into turmoil. Hinder. Verb. 방해하다, 저해하다. Bad weather hindered the progress of the construction project. 시사 용어 해설. 재난구조 활동에서 결정적인 생존 한계선으로 불리는 골든 윈도우 혹은 골든 타임은 일반적으로 사고 발생 직후의 72시간을 의미합니다. 지진으로 건물이 붕괴되었을 때 인간의 신체가 물이나 음식물 섭취 없이 극단적인 환경 조건과 심각한 부상을 견디며 생존할 수 있는 의학적 임계점이기 때문입니다. 이러한 시간적 제약 속에서 초기 구조대의 효율적인 배치와 장비 투입 여부는 전체 생존율을 좌우하는 핵심 변수가 되며 각국의 재난 대응 시스템 수준을 평가하는 척도로도 작용합니다.
1-2. Europe swelters under record high temperatures. Europe is currently sweltering under a deadly, relentless heat wave that is obliterating historical temperature records across multiple nations. In France, the epicenter of the extreme heat, temperatures have soared above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, directly contributing to at least 45 fatalities, including numerous tragic drownings as citizens desperately seek relief. The severe weather conditions have severely disrupted daily life, forcing widespread school closures and threatening to buckle railway infrastructure due to thermal expansion. Experts continuously warn that this is the second record-breaking heat wave in 2 straight months, illustrating a highly alarming trend. Because the continent largely lacks widespread residential air conditioning, governments are struggling to implement emergency public health measures to protect vulnerable populations. Vocabulary. Swelter. Verb. 무더위에 시달리다. Passengers sweltered inside the unair-conditioned train. Relentless. Adjective. 끈질긴, 가차없는. The relentless sun beat down on the desert travelers. Obliterate. Verb. 완전히 파괴하다, 지우다. The missile strike completely obliterated the enemy base. Epicenter. Noun. 진원지, 중심점. The city was the epicenter of the financial crisis. Soar. Verb. 치솟다, 급등하다. Housing prices have soared in the past decade. Fatality. Noun. 사망자, 치사율. The car accident resulted in 2 fatalities. Disrupt. Verb. 방해하다, 지장을 주다. The noisy construction work disrupted the meeting. Thermal expansion. Noun. 열팽창. Thermal expansion caused the metal bridge joints to crack. Vulnerable. Adjective. 취약한, 연약한. The elderly are particularly vulnerable to extreme heat. Residential. Adjective. 주거에, 거주용에. The factory was built far away from residential areas. 시사용어 해설. 열팽창. Thermal expansion. 건 물질이 열을 흡수할 때 부피가 팽창하는 물리적 현상을 일컫습니다. 유럽의 철도망이나 교량 같은 핵심 인프라는 과거의 온화한 기후 기준에 맞춰 설계되었기 때문에 최근 관측되는 극단적인 고온에 장기간 노출될 경우 선로가 휘어지거나 파손되는 심각한 물리적 변형을 겪게 됩니다. 이는 단순한 기상이변을 넘어 국가의 물류 시스템과 교통망을 마비시켜 거대한 경제적 손실을 유발하는 인프라 붕괴의 주요 원인으로 작용하고 있습니다. 1.3. U.S. Supreme Court rules Haitians, Syrians can be deported. The United States Supreme Court has issued a highly controversial ruling stating that immigrants from Haiti and Syria can now be legally deported, ending critical protections. This pivotal judicial decision effectively removes the long-standing Temporary Protected Status, TPS, that safeguarded roughly 350,000 individuals from facing immediate removal. Community organizers noted that affected residents now face overwhelming fear, possessing only about a 30-day window to receive updated administrative guidance or secure alternative legal pathways. The ruling has sharply intensified domestic debates over immigration enforcement, placing immense pressure on the administration to clarify its upcoming policy mechanisms. Activists warn that sudden deportations to these deeply unstable regions could inevitably result in severe humanitarian consequences. Vocabulary. Controversial. Adjective. 논란이 많은. The government passed a highly controversial tax law. Deport. Verb. 추방하다. The authorities decided to deport the illegal immigrants. Pivotal. Adjective. 중대한. 중심이 되는. She played a pivotal role in negotiating the peace treaty. Safeguard. Verb. 보호하다. 지키다. Strict laws were implemented to safeguard customer privacy. Administrative. Adjective. 행정적인. 관리에. He was bogged down by endless administrative tasks. Intensify. Verb. 심화되다. 강화하다. The military conflict intensified over the weekend. Enforcement. Noun. 법률의 시행. 집행. The strict enforcement of traffic laws reduced accidents. Unstable. Adjective. 불안정한. The country has a very unstable political history. Inevitably. Adverb. 필연적으로. 불가피하게. The scandal will inevitably affect the election results. Humanitarian. Adjective. 인도주의적인. The UN launched a humanitarian mission to provide food. 시사용어 해설. 임시보호신분, Temporary Protected Status, TPS는 무력 분쟁, 환경재난, 전염병 등 극심한 혼란으로 인해 본국으로 안전하게 돌아갈 수 없는 외국인들에게 미국 정부가 일정 기간 동안 체류와 취업을 합법적으로 허용하는 인도주의적 이민제도입니다. 이 신분이 취소되거나 대법원에 의해 무효화될 경우 수십 년간 미국 경제와 사회의 일원으로 기여해온 수십만 명의 이민자들이 하루아침에 불법 체류자로 전락하여 강제 추방의 공포에 직면하게 되는 심각한 사회적 구조 변화를 낳게 됩니다. 2. BBC 2.1 Keir Starmer resigns as UK Prime Minister. Keir Starmer has dramatically resigned as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, wiping away tears during his emotional final address outside number 10 Downing Street. In a deeply polarizing exit speech, he controversially declared that the Labour Party was politically and morally bankrupt when he initially took the helm. His sudden departure was fundamentally fueled by historically poor approval ratings, relentless internal party divisions, and mounting public anger over what many viewed as unprincipled policy reversals. Political commentators widely observed that voters harbored a visceral loathing for his administration, demanding immediate and tangible results rather than slow systemic changes. This leadership vacuum plunges the already fragile British political establishment into profound uncertainty and immediate electoral maneuvering. Vocabulary: dramatically, adverb, 극적으로, 갑작스럽게. The economic situation has improved dramatically. Polarizing, adjective, 양극화하는, 분열시키는. The new healthcare policy was a highly polarizing issue. Bankrupt, adjective, 파산한, 결핍된. The company went bankrupt after years of bad management. Relentless, adjective, 끊임없는, 가차없는. The team faced relentless criticism from the press. Unprincipled, adjective, 원칙이 없는, 부도덕한. His unprincipled business tactics ruined his reputation. Reversal, noun, 번복, 반전. The sudden policy reversal surprised many citizens. Visceral, adjective, 본능적인, 마음속 깊은 곳으로부터의. She had a visceral fear of flying in airplanes. Loathing, noun, 혐오, 증오. He looked at his former partner with absolute loathing. Tangible, adjective, 명백한, 실체가 있는. We need tangible evidence to prove this theory. Profound, adjective, 깊은, 심오한. The discovery had a profound impact on medical science. 시사용어 해설. 정치적 양극화, political polarization은 한 국가 내에서 정치적 성향이나 이념이 극단적으로 나뉘어 중도파가 사라지고 여야 간의 타협과 대화가 불가능해지는 현상을 설명하는 개념입니다. 스타머 총리의 사임은 영국의 유권자들이 진보와 보수, 양극단으로 나뉘어 각자의 기득권을 맹렬히 방어하는 과정에서 이념적 유연성이 부족한 지도자가 더 이상 지지 기반을 유지할 수 없게 된 현대 대의민주주의의 위기를 상징적으로 보여줍니다. 2-2. Andy Burnham emerges as Labour leadership contender. Following the swift collapse of Keir Starmer's administration, Andy Burnham has rapidly emerged as the definitive frontrunner to seize control of the Labour Party leadership. Senior political correspondents predict that a new prime minister could be formally installed by mid-July if Burnham manages to run unopposed within the fractured party apparatus. However, internal dynamics reveal deep-seated bitterness and ideological divides, making a seamless transition highly unlikely without substantial political bargaining. Burnham represents a critical shift in the party's strategic direction, seeking to aggressively reconnect with disillusioned working-class voters who entirely abandoned Starmer. The incoming leadership will immediately face the monumental task of unifying the cabinet while addressing a severely depleted national treasury. Frontrunner, noun, 선두주자, 유력 후보. She is currently the frontrunner in the presidential race. Unopposed, adjective, 반대 없는, 무경쟁이. The local mayor was elected unopposed for a second term. Fractured, adjective, 분열된, 골절된. The fractured political party struggled to pass any laws. Deep-seated, adjective, 뿌리 깊은, 고질적인. There is deep-seated resentment between the two families. Seamless, adjective, 매끄러운, 이음새 없는. The software update provided a seamless user experience. Bargaining, noun, 협상, 흥정. After hours of hard bargaining, they reached an agreement. Disillusioned, adjective, 환멸을 느낀, 실망한. Many disillusioned voters decided to boycott the election. Abandon, verb, 버리다, 포기하다. The sailors had to abandon the sinking ship. Monumental, adjective,
엄청난, 기념비적인. Rebuilding the city after the war was a monumental task. Deplete. Verb. 고갈시키다, 대폭 감소시키다. The long drought severely depleted the town's water supply. 단일 후보 우노포스트 캔디데이트 체제는 정당 내부의 선거 과정에서 다른 경쟁자 없이 한 명의 유력 인사만이 단독으로 입후보하는 상황을 뜻합니다. 극심한 권력 투쟁으로 인해 정당 전체가 붕괴할 위기에 처했을 때 계파 간의 막후 협상과 정치적 흥정을 통해 당의 분열을 막고 권력 공백을 최소화하기 위해 전략적으로 채택되는 가장 강력한 정치적 안정화 기법 중 하나입니다.
2-3. Nigel Farage calls for immediate general election. Capitalizing on the sheer chaos within the ruling party, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has vehemently demanded the immediate scheduling of a general election. He forcefully argued that it is ridiculous to pretend that Andy Burnham has any kind of meaningful mandate to lead the country if he is elevated solely through internal party maneuvers without a nationwide public vote. Farage's aggressive political posturing explicitly aims to exploit Labour's glaring weaknesses and consolidate the fractured right-wing electorate under his populist banner. Observers suggest that the electorate's profound impatience and overarching demand for instant political accountability render the current governmental transition highly vulnerable. The pressure is exponentially mounting on the parliament to dissolve and allow the citizenry to democratically recalibrate the nation's trajectory. Vocabulary. Capitalize on, phrasal verb, 뭐뭐를 이용하다, 기회로 삼다. The company capitalized on the opponent's weak marketing. Sheer, adjective, 순전한, 완전한. Climbing that mountain requires sheer determination and strength. Vehemently, adverb, 격렬하게, 맹렬히. She vehemently denied the accusations of corruption. Maneuver, noun, 책략, 공작, 동사, 조종하다. It was a clever political maneuver to win more votes. Explicitly, adverb, 명시적으로, 분명하게. The contract explicitly states that no pets are allowed. Consolidate, verb, 통합하다, 굳건히 하다. The merged companies quickly consolidated their shared assets. Overarching, adjective, 대단히 중요한, 포괄적인. The overarching theme of the conference was climate change. Accountability, noun, 책임, 의무. Citizens are demanding greater accountability from politicians. Exponentially, adverb, 기하급수적으로. The popularity of the app grew exponentially overnight. Recalibrate, verb, 재조정하다. The team had to recalibrate their strategy after losing. 시사용어 해설. 조기 총선, general election. 원래 정해진 의회의 임기가 끝나기 전에 의회를 해산하고 새로운 국회의원과 정부를 선출하기 위해 치르는 전국 규모의 선거를 의미합니다. 의회 내 다수당의 대표가 자동으로 총리가 되는 내각제 국가에서 집권당 대표가 사임하고 당내 선거로 새 총리가 뽑히면 반대파들은 국민의 직접적인 선택, 통치 정당성을 받지 못했다고 비판하며 정치적 심판을 위해 조기 총선 실시를 강력하게 요구하게 됩니다. 3. ABC Australia 3-1. Why Israel Hezbollah threatens Trump's peace plan. The highly anticipated peace agreement between Donald Trump's administration and Iran is currently facing massive existential threats. Some of the most significant diplomatic obstacles are not actually found in Washington or Tehran, but rather on the highly militarized and volatile border between Israel and Lebanon. Ongoing skirmishes involving Hezbollah actively threaten to completely derail the intricate geopolitical deal long before the ink is even dry. Additionally, the unpredictable Republican backlash is intensely amplifying domestic political pressure in the U.S., forcing policymakers into a tight corner. Strategic analysts are deeply questioning whether this proxy conflict can be effectively contained or if it will inevitably spark a broader regional war. Vocabulary. Existential. Adjective. 실존적인, 존재 자체에 관한. Climate change poses an existential threat to humanity. Obstacle. Noun. 장애물. Lack of education is a major obstacle to finding work. Militarize. Verb. 군사화하다. The previously peaceful border zone was heavily militarized. Skirmish. Noun. 소규모 접전, 국지전. A brief skirmish occurred between the two rival factions. Derail. Verb. 무산시키다, 기차가 탈선하다. The unexpected scandal derailed his promising political career. Intricate. Adjective. 복잡한, 얽힌. The watch features an incredibly intricate mechanical design. Unpredictable. Adjective. 예측할 수 없는. The weather in this mountain region is highly unpredictable. Amplify. Verb. 증폭시키다, 더 키우다. The microphone amplified the speaker's quiet voice. Proxy. Noun. 대리, 대리인. The two powers fought a proxy war in a third country. Spark. Verb. 촉발시키다, 유발하다. The controversial speech sparked massive protests in the city. 대리전, proxy war는 거대한 군사력을 지닌 강대국들이 전면전을 피하기 위해 자신들이 직접 참전하지 않고 자신들의 이념이나 이익을 대변하는 제3국의 무장 세력이나 국가를 군사적으로 지원하여 간접적으로 싸우는 전쟁 형태입니다. 이스라엘과 친이란 무장정파 헤즈볼라의 무력 충돌은 사실상 미국과 이란이라는 거대한 패권 국가들의 전략적 이해관계가 대리하는 무대이므로 이들의 갈등 조율 없이는 진정한 중동의 평화 협정을 이끌어낼 수 없습니다.
3-2. Socceroos through to the round of 32 after draw with Paraguay. The Australian men's national soccer team, affectionately known as the Socceroos, has officially advanced to the round of 32 at the highly competitive FIFA World Cup. This monumental achievement was ultimately secured following a tense, scoreless 0-0 draw against a formidable Paraguayan squad. Implementing a highly disciplined and heavily defensive tactical formation, the team successfully neutralized their opponent's relentless attacking prowess throughout the entire match. The historic advancement has sparked immense nationwide celebrations across Australia, uniting diverse communities through a profound sense of shared national pride. Sports commentators emphasize that the team's resilient spirit serves as a powerful inspiration for grassroots athletic programs across the continent. Vocabulary. Advance. Verb. 진출하다, 전진하다. The army quickly advanced towards the enemy capital. Monumental. Adjective. 기념비적인, 엄청난. Winning the championship was a monumental achievement for her. Secure. Verb. 확보하다, 확고히 하다. The company managed to secure a massive government contract. Scoreless. Adjective. 득점이 없는. The game ended in a boring, scoreless draw. Formidable. Adjective. 가공할, 만만치 않은. They faced a formidable opponent in the final match. Defensive. Adjective. 방어적인. The team adopted a highly defensive strategy to avoid losing. Neutralize. Verb. 무력화하다, 중화시키다. The medication effectively neutralized the deadly poison. Relentless. Adjective. 끈질긴, 가차없는. The relentless rain caused severe flooding in the valley. Prowess. Noun. 기량, 솜씨. The young athlete demonstrated exceptional physical prowess. Resilient. Adjective. 회복력 있는, 탄력 있는. The resilient community quickly rebuilt their homes after the storm. 시사용어 해설. Round of 32. Round of 32, 32강은 토너먼트 형식의 글로벌 스포츠 대회에서 예선 조별리그를 통과한 상위 32개 팀이 승패에 따라 다음 라운드 진출 여부를 단판 승부로 가리는 본격적인 노크아웃 단계의 시작을 의미합니다. 기존 월드컵 체제에서 참가국이 48개국으로 확대됨에 따라 새롭게 도입된 경기 방식이며 2단계 진출은 막대한 중계권료 수익 분배와 직결되어 국가적 경제 효과를 가져오는 상업적 스포츠 산업의 핵심 분기점입니다. Number 3. 3. Rescuers search for survivors after earthquakes hit Venezuela. International broadcasters, including ABC Australia, are closely monitoring the catastrophic aftermath of the major back-to-back earthquakes that violently struck Venezuela. The primary focus remains intensely locked on the desperate search and rescue operations currently unfolding in the devastated urban centers. Comprehensive relief efforts are being severely hindered by the total collapse of local infrastructure, resulting in widespread telecommunication blackouts and impassable major transit routes. Australian analysts highlighting the tragedy are urgently calling for enhanced global disaster preparedness, noting the escalating frequency of extreme geological events. The profound human toll continues to underscore the critical necessity for rapid, coordinated international humanitarian intervention. Vocabulary. Aftermath. Noun. 여파, 후유증. The country struggled to rebuild in the aftermath of the war. Violently. Adverb. 격렬하게, 맹렬히. The protesters clashed violently with the riot police. Primary. Adjective. 주된, 주요한. His primary concern is the safety of his children. Unfold. Verb. 상황이 펼쳐지다, 전개되다. We watched the dramatic events unfold on live television. Comprehensive. Adjective. 포괄적인, 종합적인. The school offers a comprehensive training program for teachers. Collapse. Noun. 붕괴, 무너짐. The sudden economic collapse left thousands without jobs. Blackout. Noun. 정전, 통신 두절. A massive power blackout plunged the city into darkness. Impassable. Adjective. 통행할 수 없는. The heavy snow rendered the mountain roads completely impassable. Preparedness. Noun. 준비태세, 대비. The drill tested the hospital's emergency preparedness. Intervention. Noun. 개입, 간섭. Timely medical intervention saved the patient's life. 시사용어 해설. 통신 두절, telecommunication blackout는 자연재해, 전시 상황 또는 대규모 정전으로 인해 기지국, 광케이블, 위성통신망 등 정보 전달 인프라가 일시에 붕괴하여 외부와의 모든 연락이 끊어지는 상태를 말합니다. 현대사회의 재난 복구 과정에서 가장 치명적인 장애 요소로 작용하며 지휘통제소와 현장 구조대 간의 소통을 불가능하게 만들어 이른바 골든타임을 놓치게 만드는 주요 원인이 됩니다.
4. The Korea Times. 4.1. MSCI keeps Korea off developed market watch list. South Korea's highly anticipated bid to upgrade its global financial status stalled again as MSCI decided to keep the nation firmly off its developed market watch list. Despite proactive governmental initiatives designed to significantly enhance stock market accessibility for foreign investors, MSCI explicitly cited the persisting structural limitations within the domestic foreign exchange system. Regulatory bodies in Seoul expressed deep disappointment, but pledged to continually push aggressive capital market reforms over the next fiscal year. Surprisingly, regardless of this frustrating institutional setback, many global financial analysts purposefully maintain an incredibly bullish outlook on South Korean equities. This robust optimism is predominantly anchored by the undeniable global dominance of Korea's heavily integrated semiconductor and technology sectors. Vocabulary. stall. Verb. 지연되다, 교착 상태에 빠지다. The peace negotiations stalled due to mutual distrust. Proactive. Adjective. 주도적인, 사전 대책을 강구하는. Companies must take proactive measures against cyber threats. Initiative. Noun. 주도권, 계획, 결단력. The government launched a new initiative to combat poverty. Persist. Verb. 지속되다, 고집하다. If the pain persists, you should definitely consult a doctor. Limitation. Noun. 한계, 제한. Every scientific theory has its inherent limitations. Pledge. Verb. 약속하다, 맹세하다. The mayor pledged to reduce crime rates in the city. Setback. Noun. 차질, 좌절. Losing the primary sponsor was a huge setback for the team. Purposefully. Adverb. 의도적으로, 목적을 가지고. He purposefully ignored her text messages all day. Bullish. Adjective. 강세, 낙관적인. Investors are feeling bullish about the tech sector's future. Anchor. Verb. 닻을 내리다, 기반을 두다. Her arguments are firmly anchored in scientific facts. 시사용어 해설. 선진국 지수 관찰 대상국, Developed Market Watch List, 은 글로벌 자산 운용사들의 투자 지표가 되는 MSCI 지수에서 국가의 경제적 위상을 한 단계 높여주기 위해 예비심사 대상으로 올리는 명단입니다. 한국이 현재 속해 있는 신흥국, Emerging Market에서 선진국으로 승격되면 세계구급의 거대한 패시브 자금, 인덱스 펀드 등 이 안정적으로 대거 유입되면서 주식시장의 만성적인 저평가 현상, 코리아 디스카운트를 해소하는 결정적인 전환점이 될 수 있습니다.
4.2. Korea's long wait for equality law amid Pride Month. June is internationally recognized as Pride Month, typically marked by the widespread display of rainbow flags across developed nations. However, in South Korea, aside from isolated events like the Seoul Queer Culture Festival, visible public support for the LGBTQ+ community remains starkly absent. The article sharply contrasts Korea's legislative stagnation with neighboring Asian countries. Taiwan legalized same-sex marriage in 2019. Thailand followed suit in 2025, and Nepal granted full legal recognition just this June. By glaring contrast, the South Korean parliament is not currently debating any form of marriage equality or comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation. Activists sincerely hope that next year will finally bring substantial progress, specifically enacting an equality law that is no longer stuck in a legislative committee. Vocabulary. Recognize. Verb. 인정하다, 알아보다. She was recognized as the best employee of the year. Typically. Adverb. 일반적으로, 전형적으로. Summer weather here is typically hot and extremely humid. Starkly. Adverb. 극명하게, 확연히. The new statistics contrast starkly with previous reports. Stagnation. Noun. 침체, 정체. The country has suffered from economic stagnation for a decade. Grant. Verb. 승인하다, 부여하다. The university granted him a full scholarship for his studies. Glaring. Adjective. 확연한, 눈부시게 빛나는. There was a glaring error in his financial presentation. Comprehensive. Adjective. 포괄적인, 종합적인. We need a comprehensive guide to fully understand this software. Legislation. Noun. 법률 제정, 입법. New legislation was passed to heavily tax sugary drinks. Substantial. Adjective. 실질적인, 상당한. The company made a substantial profit in the first quarter. Enact. Verb. 법을 제정하다. The government enacted strict laws to combat pollution. 시사용어 해설. 포괄적 차별금지법, Comprehensive Anti-Discrimination Law, Equality Law는 성별, 장애, 인종, 출신 국가, 성적 지향, 학력 등 인간이 가진 모든 종류의 사회적 정체성을 이유로 고용, 교육, 행정 서비스 등에서 부당한 차별을 가하는 것을 법적으로 금지하는 법안을 말합니다. 이는 특정 집단만을 보호하는 개별적 차별금지법을 넘어 모든 시민의 보편적 평등권을 헌법적 가치에 맞게 실현하려는 가장 강력한 인권보호 장치로 평가받습니다.
4.3. S. Korea to push K-Lucas suicide drones. South Korea's Ministry of National Defense has officially announced an aggressive overhaul of its unmanned warfare strategy to directly counter rapidly evolving regional threats. The military urgently plans to acquire over 20,000 low-cost tactical drones, significantly boosting its immediate surveillance and striking capabilities. Furthermore, the government intends to fast-track the deployment of a highly advanced, domestically developed long-range loitering munition, widely dubbed the K-Lucas suicide drone. Defense analysts note that this rapid military modernization is heavily influenced by the undeniable effectiveness of asymmetric drone warfare observed in recent global conflicts. This strategic pivot ensures that the South Korean armed forces remain highly competitive in modern, technology-driven battlefield scenarios. Vocabulary. Overhaul. Noun. 전면 개편. 철저한 점검. The faulty engine requires a complete overhaul immediately. Unmanned. Adjective. 무인해. The military deployed unmanned aerial vehicles for reconnaissance. Counter. Verb. 대응하다. 반박하다. The company launched a new ad to counter the negative publicity.
Acquire. Verb. 획득하다, 도입하다. The museum recently acquired a rare and valuable painting. Tactical. Adjective. 전술적인. Changing the formation was a brilliant tactical move by the coach. Surveillance. Noun. 감시, 정찰. Security cameras provide 24-hour surveillance of the building. Deployment. Noun. 군대, 무기 등의 배치. The sudden deployment of troops surprised the opposing forces. Loitering. Adjective. 명사, 채공형의, 어슬렁거림. Loitering munitions can wait in the air before hitting their target. Asymmetric. Adjective. 비대칭적인. Guerrilla warfare relies heavily on unpredictable asymmetric tactics. Pivot. Noun. 방향 전환, 중심축. The startup made a strategic pivot to focus on software. 시사 용어 해설. 채공용 탄약, loitering munition, 흔히 자폭 드론, suicide drone 이라고 불리는 현대전의 무기 체계입니다. 표적이 명확히 발견될 때까지 공중을 배회, loiter 하다가 적의 레이더망이나 핵심 자산이 식별되면 스스로 미사일처럼 돌진하여 목표물을 파괴합니다. 저렴한 비용으로 고가의 방공망을 무력화할 수 있어 적은 자원으로 강한 상대를 공격하는 전형적인 비대칭 전력, asymmetric warfare의 핵심 자산으로 꼽힙니다.
5. The Korea Herald, 5-1. 8 more S-Korean-operated vessels exit Strait of Hormuz. 8 commercial vessels operated by South Korea have safely navigated out of the heavily militarized Strait of Hormuz, providing immense relief to the domestic shipping industry. This critical geopolitical choke point had been effectively blockaded during the recent outbreak of warfare between the U.S. and Iran, severely disrupting global energy corridors. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries officially confirmed that all 37 South Korean sailors remain unharmed and that the ships are now sailing normally toward their destinations. This successful evacuation was made possible by a newly established ceasefire agreement, under which Tehran agreed to allow toll-free transit for exactly 60 days. While the immediate crisis has subsided, experts warn that the underlying regional volatility requires constant diplomatic vigilance. Vocabulary. Navigate. Verb. 길을 찾다. 항해하다. It is difficult to navigate this ship through the dense fog. Choke point. Noun. 요충지. 병목 구간. The canal is a major geopolitical choke point for world trade. Blockade. Verb. 봉쇄하다. 명사. 차단. Enemy warships blockaded the harbor to stop food supplies. Disrupt. Verb. 방해하다. 지장을 주다. A sudden snowstorm disrupted the entire public transport system. Unharmed. Adjective. 다치지 않은. 무사한. Fortunately, all the passengers escaped the crash completely unharmed. Evacuation. Noun. 대피. 철수. The rapid evacuation saved thousands of lives from the flood. Subside. Verb. 가라앉다. 진정되다. The heavy winds finally began to subside by early morning. Underlying. Adjective. 근본적인. 밑에 숨겨진. We must address the underlying causes of this economic problem. Volatility. Noun. 변동성, 불안정성. The extreme volatility of the stock market scared many investors. Vigilance. Noun. 경계, 조심. Constant vigilance is required to prevent highly sophisticated cyber attacks. 시사 용어 해설. 해상 요충지. choke point. 초크 포인트는 병의 목처럼 넓은 바다와 바다를 잇는 좁은 해협을 뜻하는 지정학적 용어입니다. 글로벌 무역과 원유 운송의 절반 이상이 호르무즈 해협, 말라카 해협, 수에즈 운하와 같은 몇몇 초크 포인트를 통과합니다. 만약 전쟁이나 테러로 인해 이러한 목구멍 같은 통로 중 한 곳이라도 차단되면 운송 비용이 기하급수적으로 폭등하고 전 세계적인 에너지 및 물류 대란이 발생하여 국가 경제 전체를 흔들 수 있습니다.
5.2. Government to roll out discount events for agricultural products. In an aggressive attempt to tame persistently high inflation, the South Korean government has announced massive discount promotions for agricultural and fishery products worth 350 billion won. Surging grocery prices, further exacerbated by an unusually early monsoon season and extreme heat, have severely burdened everyday consumers. The Ministry of Finance and Economy stated that shoppers will now be eligible for substantial discounts at local supermarkets without strict limitations on specific product categories. Additionally, authorities are actively seeking out direct import channels, such as sourcing mackerel from Britain, to stabilize fluctuating domestic prices.
Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol emphasized that containing consumer price inflation around the critical 3% threshold remains a top macroeconomic priority for the remainder of 2026. Vocabulary. Tame. Verb. Gilderida. Dosarida. Okjeheda. The central bank raised interest rates to tame runaway inflation. Persistently. Adverb. 지속적으로. 끈질기게. He persistently ignored all my repeated warnings about the danger. Surge. Verb. 급등해라. 밀려들다.
Online sales surged during the unprecedented holiday shopping season. Exacerbate. Verb. 악화시키다. The lack of clear communication only exacerbated the tense situation. Burden. Verb. 부담을 지우다. 명사. 짐. High taxes heavily burden the working-class families in this country. Eligible. Adjective. 자격이 있는, 적격에. Only citizens over 18 are eligible to vote in the election. Stabilize. Verb. 안정시키다. The doctor gave him medication to stabilize his rapidly beating heart. Fluctuate. Verb. 변동하다, 오르내리다. Vegetable prices wildly fluctuate depending on the unpredictable weather. Contain. Verb. 억제하다, 포함하다. Firefighters struggled to contain the rapidly spreading forest fire. Macroeconomic. Adjective. 거시경제. The country needs a solid macroeconomic policy to encourage steady growth. 시사용어 해설. 거시경제 macroeconomics는 개별 기업이나 가계의 세세한 활동을 분석하는 미시경제와 달리 물가, 실업률, 경제성장률, 환율 등 국가 경제 전체의 흐름과 큰 숲을 살펴보는 학문이자 정책 분야입니다. 정부가 막대한 예산을 투입해 농산물 가격을 억제하려는 것은 단순히 채소값을 내리기 위함이 아니라 장바구니 물가 상승이 근로자의 임금 인상 요구로 이어지고 결국 전체적인 인플레이션, 물가 상승 악순환에 빠지는 거시경제적 위기를 선제적으로 차단하기 위한 조치입니다. 5.3. Korea to acquire 20,000 low-cost drones. In a sweeping move to fundamentally modernize its armed forces, South Korea has detailed an ambitious plan to acquire more than 20,000 low-cost drones in the near future. This massive procurement initiative is primarily designed to establish an overwhelming numerical advantage in unmanned aerial reconnaissance and tactical operations. The Defense Ministry, headed by Minister An Gyu-bak, explicitly highlighted the necessity to rapidly counter evolving asymmetric threats originating from across the heavily fortified border. To complement the sheer volume of reconnaissance units, the military is also significantly accelerating the production and operational deployment of the highly lethal K-Lucas suicide drones. This distinct shift heavily signifies that unmanned warfare has firmly transitioned from an experimental concept to a core doctrine in Seoul's defense strategy. Vocabulary. Sweeping. Adjective. 광범위한, 대대적인. The new CEO implemented sweeping changes to the corporate structure. Modernize. Verb. 현대화하다. The city plans to completely modernize its outdated public transport. Procurement. Noun. 조달, 획득. The Defense Ministry issued a new guideline for military procurement. Overwhelming. Adjective. 압도적인. The candidate won the presidential election by an overwhelming majority. Explicitly. Adverb. 명시적으로, 분명히. The instructions explicitly stated that mobile phones are completely forbidden. Fortify. Verb. 요새화하다, 강화하다. The ancient castle was heavily fortified to survive prolonged enemy sieges. Complement. Verb. 보완하다. The excellent wine perfectly complemented the deliciously prepared steak. Lethal. Adjective. 치명적인, 죽음을 초래하는. A highly lethal dose of poison was unexpectedly found in his blood. Transition. Verb. 전환하다, 명사, 전환. The company is trying to quickly transition to renewable energy sources. Doctrine. Noun. 교리, 원칙. The strict non-interventionist doctrine guided their foreign policy for decades. 시사용어 해설. 조달, procurement, 절차란 국가기관이나 거대 기업이 필요한 물자, 장비, 서비스 등을 민간 시장에서 구매하여 확보하는 체계적이고 공식적인 과정을 말합니다.
특히 국방 조달, Defense Procurement는 국가안보와 직결되어 막대한 국민의 세금이 투입되므로 성능 평가부터 가격 협상, 투명성 검증까지 매우 까다로운 법적 절차를 거치게 됩니다. 정부가 특정 무기의 조달 일정을 앞당긴다는 것은 그만큼 국가가 마주한 안보 위협이 시급하다는 방증이기도 합니다.
6. CGTN 6-1. Death toll climbs to 1,430 in Venezuela quakes. The horrifying aftermath of the twin earthquakes in Venezuela has grown increasingly grim, with the official death toll rapidly climbing to a staggering 1,430 victims. As massive excavators and desperate rescue teams continue to meticulously sift through mountains of concrete rubble, hopes of finding anyone alive have faded drastically. The tragic recovery phase has laid bare the absolute destruction of countless communities and shattered the nation's fragile heart. In an immediate display of international solidarity, Chinese President Xi Jinping extended deep, heartfelt condolences and mobilized significant emergency relief supplies to the heavily devastated South American nation. The global community is now shifting its primary focus from active search operations to critical humanitarian aid and long-term infrastructure recovery. Vocabulary: horrifying, adjective, 소름 끼치는, 끔찍한. The survivors described the horrifying moment the building suddenly collapsed. Grim, adjective, 암울한, 비관적인. The economic forecast looks incredibly grim for the next fiscal year. Staggering, adjective, 충격적인, 엄청난. The tech startup achieved a staggering 500% revenue growth this year. Meticulously, adverb, 꼼꼼하게, 세심하게. She meticulously checked every single document before signing the contract. Drastically, adverb, 극적으로, 과감하게. The government drastically cut the education budget due to the crisis. Bare, adjective, 벌거벗은, 드러난. The dry winter left the trees entirely bare and lifeless. Solidarity, noun, 연대, 결속. The workers showed strong solidarity by going on strike together. Condolence, noun, 애도, 조의. Please accept my deepest condolences for the loss of your father. Mobilize, verb, 동원하다, 집결시키다. The general successfully mobilized thousands of troops to defend the border. Humanitarian, adjective, 인도주의적인. Sending clean water is a crucial part of the massive humanitarian effort. 시사용어 해설. 인도주의적 개입, humanitarian intervention은 국가 간의 정치적 갈등이나 외교적 적대 관계를 떠나 자연재해나 기아, 질병 등 인류의 생존 자체가 위협받는 상황에서 국제사회가 조건 없이 제공하는 구호 활동을 의미합니다. 중국이 베네수엘라에 대규모 원조를 약속한 것은 이러한 인도주의적 정신을 발휘함과 동시에 남미 지역 내에서 미국의 외교적 영향력을 견제하고 자국의 소프트 파워, 외교적 매력과 영향력을 확산하기 위한 고도의 지정학적 전략이 숨어 있습니다. 6.2. Study finds climate change intensified Europe's June heat wave. A rapid and exhaustive analysis conducted by the World Weather Attribution Group concluded that human-induced climate change made the ongoing record-breaking European heat wave unequivocally more intense. Leading researchers firmly stated that experiencing such extreme mid-June temperatures would have been virtually impossible without the drastic warming effect accumulated over the past 50 years. Today, Europe stands as the world's fastest warming continent, enduring staggering heat that brutally overwhelms natural cooling systems and severely threatens public health infrastructure. Prominent scientists noted that while the high-pressure weather pattern itself is somewhat normal, the resultant deadly temperatures are a direct consequence of carbon emissions. Ultimately, the study strongly advocates for the rapid phase-out of fossil fuels to mitigate increasingly catastrophic future heat waves. Vocabulary: exhaustive. Adjective: 철저한, 포괄적인. The police conducted an exhaustive investigation into the complex murder case. Unequivocally. Adverb: 명백하게, 단호하게. He stated unequivocally that he had no involvement in the huge scandal. Virtually. Adverb: 사실상, 가상으로. It is virtually impossible to finish this massive project by tomorrow. Drastic. Adjective: 급격한, 과감한. The company had to take drastic measures to completely avoid bankruptcy. Endure. Verb: 견디다, 참다.
She had to endure months of extremely painful physical therapy. Overwhelm. Verb. 압도하다, 제압하다. The sudden massive influx of orders completely overwhelmed the small factory. Prominent. Adjective. 저명한, 두드러진. He is a highly prominent scientist in the field of genetic research. Consequence. Noun. 결과. The disastrous oil spill had severe environmental consequences. Advocate. Verb. 옹호하다, 지지하다. Many environmental groups actively advocate for strictly using renewable energy. Mitigate. Verb. 완화하다, 경감시키다. Planting more trees can greatly help mitigate the harsh effects of global warming. 시사용어 해설. 탄소 배출이란 공장, 자동차, 발전소 등에서 석탄이나 석유 같은 화석연료를 태울 때 대기 중으로 이산화탄소 등의 온실가스를 내뿜는 현상을 뜻합니다. 이 가스들이 지구를 담요처럼 두껍게 덮어 열이 우주로 빠져나가는 것을 막기 때문에 온실 효과, 지구 전체의 평균 기온이 비정상적으로 상승하게 됩니다. 이 폭주하는 온난화를 막기 위해 전 세계는 탄소 중립, 넷제로, 배출한 만큼 다시 흡수해 실질 배출량을 0으로 만드는 것을 목표로 에너지 대전환을 시도하고 있습니다.
6-3. Summer Davos 2026 highlights China's role in scaling up innovation. The 17th annual meeting of the New Champions, widely known as Summer Davos, successfully concluded in Dalian, vigorously highlighting the critical necessity of innovating at scale. Featuring over 1,700 participants from 90 different nations, the massive forum deeply explored revolutionary sectors, including artificial intelligence, humanoid robotics, and complex quantum technology. Throughout the intense sessions, China's rapidly emerging dominance as an indispensable innovator and a reliable global partner was heavily showcased. Chinese Premier Li Qiang articulated that the China Opportunity 2.0 essentially promises broader international access to advanced, cutting-edge technologies. Ultimately, forum leaders stressed that despite the increasingly fractured geopolitical landscape, profound technological innovations must remain deeply interconnected through robust global cooperation. Vocabulary. Conclude. Verb. 마치다. 결론짓다. The exciting meeting finally concluded after 3 hours of intense debate. Vigorously. Adverb. 활기차게. 강력하게. She vigorously defended her controversial academic thesis before the committee. Revolutionary. Adjective. 혁명적인. The invention of the internet was a truly revolutionary moment for humanity. Indispensable. Adjective. 없어서는 안 돼. 필수적인. A reliable smartphone has become an indispensable tool in modern daily life. Showcase. Verb. 전시하다. 선보이다. The grand exhibition was designed to vividly showcase local artistic talent. Articulate. Verb. 분명히 표현하다. He was able to articulate his complex feelings with remarkable clarity. Cutting edge. Adjective. 최첨단의. The new tech laboratory uses only the most cutting-edge medical equipment. Fractured. Adjective. 분열된. 파편화된. The heavily fractured political party failed to win the crucial national election. Profound. Adjective. 심오한. 엄청난. The deeply philosophical book had a profound impact on my overall worldview. Interconnected. Adjective. 상호 연결된. In today's highly globalized economy, markets are deeply interconnected. 시사용어 해설. 지정학적 파편화, geopolitical fragmentation는 세계가 하나의 거대한 자유무역 체제, 세계화로 묶여있던 과거와 달리 국가 안보나 이념을 이유로 미국, 중국, 유럽 등 여러 개의 배타적인 블록으로 쪼개지는 현상을 뜻합니다. 이로 인해 한 나라에서 만든 기술이나 제품을 다른 나라에서 쓰지 못하게 규제하는 장벽이 높아지는데 다보스 포럼에서는 기술 발전만큼은 이러한 장벽을 넘어 서로 긴밀히 협력하고 교류해야만 인류 전체가 발전할 수 있다고 경고한 것입니다. Number 7. NHK World Japan. Number 1. Australia to tighten under-16 social media ban. The Australian government has boldly announced a rigorous legislative plan to tightly enforce a strict social media ban, specifically targeting children under 16. This decisive crackdown places the immense burden of compliance entirely on the shoulders of massive multinational tech companies, holding them strictly legally responsible. Digital platforms will now be forced to seamlessly integrate sophisticated, robust age verification systems or face crippling financial penalties. Child safety advocates deeply praise the initiative, forcefully arguing that the industry's historical reliance on mere self-regulation has proven to be a catastrophic failure. Consequently, this aggressive Australian policy sets a monumental precedent that could easily trigger a cascade of similar regulatory frameworks globally.
Vocabulary. Rigorous. Adjective. 엄격한. 철저한. The athletes undergo a highly rigorous training schedule before the Olympics. Decisive. Adjective. 단호한. 결정적인. The general took decisive action to instantly put down the violent rebellion. Compliance. Noun. 법, 규칙 등의 준수. The factory was closed due to a complete lack of safety compliance. Seamlessly. Adverb. 매끄럽게. 이음새 없이. The new software updates integrate seamlessly with our existing computer network. Sophisticated. Adjective. 정교한. 세련된. The hackers used a highly sophisticated computer virus to steal the secret data. Robust. Adjective. 탄탄한. 강력한. The economy showed robust growth during the very difficult first quarter. Crippling. Adjective. 치명적인. 심각한 손상을 주는. The strict new taxes had a crippling effect on small local businesses. Advocate. Noun. 옹호자. 지지자. She has been a tireless advocate for women's equal rights in the workplace. Self-regulation. Noun. 자율규제. Experts strongly believe that industry self-regulation is rarely truly effective. Cascade. Noun. 연쇄 반응. 폭포. The initial bad news caused a rapid cascade of selling in the stock market. 시사 용어 해설. 법적 준수. Compliance. Compliance란 기업이 국가가 정한 법규나 사회적 윤리를 철저히 지키며 경영활동을 하는 것을 의미합니다. 호주 정부가 추진하는 규제는 단순히 아이들이 SNS를 덜 쓰게 하자는 캠페인이 아니라 페이스북, 틱톡 같은 거대 빅테크 기업들이 미성년자의 접근을 차단할 수 있는 확실한 기술적 장치, 컴플라이언스 시스템을 만들지 않으면 막대한 벌금으로 기업의 존립을 위협하겠다는 강력한 법적 강제를 담고 있습니다.
7-2. 3 killed in Philippines school shooting. A horrifying and deadly school shooting in the Philippines has tragically claimed the lives of 3 individuals, sending massive shockwaves throughout the deeply grieving nation. Local law enforcement authorities rapidly responded to the chaotic scene, desperately attempting to secure the large educational campus and protect terrified students. The brutal incident has inevitably sparked intense public outrage, reigniting fierce, passionate debates regarding the immediate necessity for far stricter national gun control measures. Grieving parents and concerned citizens are now vehemently demanding a comprehensive overhaul of fundamental security protocols within all educational institutions. Government officials have somberly vowed to conduct a completely transparent investigation to thoroughly understand the horrific motives behind this senseless violence. Vocabulary. Shockwave. Noun. 충격파. 파장. The unexpected political resignation sent shockwaves through the entire country. Grieving. Adjective. 비통해하는. 슬퍼하는. The community offered support to the deeply grieving families after the accident. Enforcement. Noun. 법률의 시행. 집행. The strict enforcement of parking rules angered many local drivers. Chaotic. Adjective. 혼란스러운. The busy train station was incredibly chaotic during the morning rush hour. Brutal. Adjective. 잔혹한. 야만적인. The brutal winter storm caused massive power outages across the state. Outrage. Noun. 격분. 분노. The unfair court verdict caused widespread public outrage in the city. Reignite. Verb. 다시 불붙이다. 재점화하다. His controversial comments quickly reignited the angry political debate. Vehemently. Adverb. 격렬하게. 맹렬히. She vehemently denied stealing any of the company's secret money. Protocol. Noun. 절차. 규약. The laboratory must strictly follow safety protocols when handling dangerous chemicals. Somberly. Adverb. 침통하게. 엄숙하게. He somberly announced the tragic death of the respected community leader. 시사 용어 해설. 보안 절차. Security protocols. 난. 특정 기관이나 시설, 학교, 공항, 정부 청사 등에서 사람들을 위험으로부터 보호하기 위해 사전에 엄격하게 정해놓은 일련의 규칙과 행동 지침을 말합니다. 예를 들어 외부인의 신원을 철저히 확인하거나 총기 같은 위험 물질의 반입을 막기 위해 금속 탐지기를 설치하고 비상사태가 발생했을 때 학생들을 어떻게 대피시킬지 정해놓은 모든 매뉴얼이 학교의 보안 프로토콜에 해당합니다. 필리핀 학부모들은 이 매뉴얼을 완전히 뜯어고쳐 overhaul, 안전망을 재구축하라고 요구하는 것입니다.
7.3. Japan holds maritime security training for Indonesia. In a highly calculated strategic maneuver, Japan recently hosted comprehensive maritime security training exercises specifically designed for Indonesian naval and coast guard forces. This collaborative, hands-on initiative focuses heavily on significantly enhancing critical capabilities in maritime law enforcement, disaster search and rescue, and anti-piracy operations. Geopolitical analysts clearly view this growing partnership as a deliberate effort by Tokyo to directly counter China's increasingly aggressive territorial assertiveness in the highly contested South China Sea. By actively bolstering the defensive competencies of Southeast Asian nations, Japan aims to solidly reinforce its overarching free and open Indo-Pacific vision. The joint drills firmly symbolize a deepening, trust-based bilateral security alliance that extends far beyond traditional economic cooperation. Vocabulary. Calculated. Adjective. 계산된, 치밀하게 계획된. His sudden resignation was a carefully calculated political move. Maneuver. Noun. 책략, 작전 행동. The military exercise involved a highly complex naval maneuver. Collaborative. Adjective. 협력적인. The successful research project was a massive collaborative effort between two universities. Anti-piracy. Adjective. 대해적의 저작권 침해 방지에. The Navy heavily increased its anti-piracy patrols along the dangerous coast. Counter. Verb. 대응하다. 반박하다. We must develop a strong strategy to counter the opponent's arguments. Assertiveness. Noun. 자기주장, 단호함. The manager was heavily praised for her confidence and impressive assertiveness. Contested. Adjective. 논쟁이 되는, 분쟁 중인. The exact border remains a highly contested area between the two countries. Bolster. Verb. 강화하다, 지지하다. The government lowered interest rates to significantly bolster the weak economy. Reinforce. Verb. 보강하다, 강화하다. Extra steel beams were quickly added to safely reinforce the old bridge. Bilateral. Adjective. 상호적인, 양자 간의. The two historic enemies finally signed a beneficial bilateral trade agreement. 시사용어 해설. 자유롭고 열린 인도-태평양. Free and Open Indo-Pacific. FOIP 구상은 아시아와 아프리카를 잇는 태평양과 인도양 바닷길을 어느 특정 국가, 특히 중국이 무력으로 독점하지 못하게 하고 국제법에 따라 자유로운 항해와 무역을 보장하자는 안보 및 경제 전략입니다. 미국과 일본이 주도하여 호주, 인도, 인도네시아 등 주변국들과 해군 합동훈련을 하거나 경비정을 지원하는 행위는 모두 이 FOIP 전략의 일환으로 중국의 해양 팽창을 포위하고 견제하려는 목적을 지닙니다.
8. Al Jazeera. 8.1. U.S. strikes Iran in response to drone strike on commercial ship. The United States fiercely renewed direct military strikes against sophisticated Iranian missile and radar storage facilities following a brazen drone attack on a commercial vessel. The Singapore-registered container ship, named the Ever Lovely, was unexpectedly struck by a kamikaze-style projectile while navigating the incredibly vital Strait of Hormuz. U.S. military command firmly justified the retaliatory bombings, clearly stating that Iran's dangerous behavior undermined freedom of navigation and severely threatened global commerce. In swift response, Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, angrily condemned the aggressive action and boldly claimed to have targeted U.S. military installations in the surrounding region. This rapid, violent exchange of fire severely jeopardizes the highly fragile Memorandum of Understanding recently signed by both antagonistic nations. Vocabulary. Fiercely. Adverb. 맹렬하게. 사나웁게. The fierce wind blew fiercely throughout the terrifying storm. Brazen. Adjective. 뻔뻔스러운. 노쇠로 만든. The thieves committed a highly brazen robbery in broad daylight.
Projectile. Noun. 발사체, 미사일, 포탄 등.
The scientist carefully studied the rapid trajectory of the launched projectile. Navigate. Verb. 항해하다. 길을 찾다. He used an old compass to carefully navigate through the dense forest. Retaliatory. Adjective. 보복적인. 안갚음에. The government immediately launched a retaliatory strike against the enemy base. Undermine. Verb. 훼손하다. 자신감 등을 약화시키다. Constant harsh criticism will easily undermine a child's delicate confidence. Condemn. Verb. 규탄하다. 비난하다. The international community quickly condemned the cruel terrorist attacks. Installation. Noun. 군사. 시설. 기지. 설치. The remote military installation is guarded by heavily armed soldiers. Jeopardize. Verb. 위태롭게 하다. Drinking and driving will severely jeopardize your absolute safety. Antagonistic. Adjective. 적대적인. The two incredibly angry men stared at each other in an antagonistic manner. 시사용어 해설. 항행의 자유, freedom of navigation는 공해, 어느 나라의 소유도 아닌 넓은 바다와 국제적으로 중요한 해협에서 평화적인 목적을 지닌 군함과 상선이 그 어떤 국가의 부당한 간섭이나 위협 없이 자유롭고 안전하게 이동할 수 있는 국제법상 고유의 권리입니다. 미국이 세계의 바다 경찰을 자처하며 이란의 군사시설을 공습한 가장 큰 명분이 바로 전 세계 경제의 동맥인 이 바닷길의 항행의 자유가 위협받았다는 점입니다. 8-2. Another powerful magnitude 4.8 earthquake hits near Venezuela. Compounding the existing national tragedy, another powerful earthquake measuring 4.8 on the Richter scale has terrifyingly struck off the fragile northern coast of Venezuela. This significant seismic event struck just as exhausted rescuers were desperately racing to locate survivors from the devastating twin earthquakes that occurred earlier in the week. The continuous sequence of unpredictable aftershocks is causing intense fear among traumatized residents and drastically slowing down critical recovery operations due to extreme safety hazards. To make matters vastly worse, surviving locals have bitterly complained about a sheer lack of organization in the government's official response efforts. Ongoing mobile network and internet outages effectively isolate deeply affected neighborhoods, plunging desperate families into further agonizing uncertainty. Vocabulary. Compound. Verb. 악화시키다, 더 심각하게 만들다. His constant lying only compounded the incredibly difficult situation. Seismic. Adjective. 지진의, 영향이 엄청난. A massive seismic shift is occurring in the entire global economy. Sequence. Noun. 연속, 순서. The complex computer program executes a specific sequence of commands. Unpredictable. Adjective. 예측할 수 없는. The stock market is famously unpredictable during times of war. Aftershock. Noun. 여진. 큰 지진 뒤에 작은 지진. Several small aftershocks were strongly felt hours after the big earthquake. Traumatized. Adjective. 정신적 외상을 입은. 큰 충격을 받은. The traumatized children urgently needed professional psychological help. Drastically. Adverb. 극적으로. 과감하게. 8-3. Iran condemns U.S. strikes, says it's violation of MOU. Iran's foreign ministry has fiercely condemned the recent U.S. military airstrikes, officially labeling the aggressive actions as a blatant violation of both the UN Charter and their recently signed Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. Entering the tense 120th day of the prolonged conflict, Iranian parliamentarians angrily accused Washington of demonstrating a complete lack of commitment to meaningful diplomacy and established ceasefire frameworks. In a highly defiant statement, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps verified that they had quickly targeted regional U.S. military deployments as a direct, proportional response to American aggression. Furthermore, Tehran explicitly reiterated that the MOU inherently grants them absolute sovereign control over ships navigating the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Diplomatic channels remain severely strained, with virtually no direct communication line firmly established to effectively de-escalate the explosive situation. Vocabulary. Fiercely. Adverb. 맹렬하게, 강하게. The politician fiercely defended his highly controversial economic policies. Blatant. Adjective. 노골적인, 뻔뻔스러운. It was a blatant lie that completely ruined his public credibility. Violation. Noun. 위반, 침해. Driving over the speed limit is a clear traffic violation. Prolonged. Adjective. 장기화된, 오래 계속되는. The patient suffered from a prolonged illness that lasted for years. Parliamentarian. Noun. 국회의원. The skilled parliamentarian quickly proposed a new amendment to the bill. Defiant. Adjective. 반항적인, 도전적인. The angry teenager folded his arms and gave a defiant stare. Proportional. Adjective. 비례하는, 상응하는. The severe punishment was not proportional to the very minor crime. Reiterate. Verb. 거듭말하다, 반복하다. The teacher had to reiterate the important instructions 3 times. Inherently. Adverb. 본질적으로, 선천적으로. Nuclear power is inherently dangerous if not managed perfectly. De-escalate. Verb. 완화하다, 축소하다. The police tried to slowly de-escalate the very tense hostage situation. 시사용어 해설. 비례적 대응, proportional response, 은 국제법과 전쟁 규칙에서 매우 중요하게 다뤄지는 외교 및 군사 용어입니다. 적국이 나를 공격했을 때 무조건 무자비한 핵폭탄 같은 과잉 보복을 하는 것이 아니라 상대방이 가한 피해의 규모와 방식에 딱 들어맞는 수준으로만 반격하는 것을 의미합니다. 이란이 비례적 대응을 언급한 것은 통제불능의 전면전을 일으키려는 것이 아니라 미국이 때린 만큼만 정당방위로 돌려주겠다는 정치적 명분을 쌓기 위한 전략적 수사, 말하기 방식입니다. 9. CBC Canada. 9-1. Total of 18 drones intercepted since FIFA World Cup 2026 came to Toronto. Since the highly anticipated FIFA World Cup 2026 officially arrived in the city, Toronto police have successfully intercepted exactly 18 unauthorized drones violating strict airspace rules. Temporary, heavily restricted no-fly zones were deliberately established directly over massive fan festivals and stadium venues to ensure absolute public safety. Security experts thoroughly explain that rogue drones pose massive risks. They can easily collide with aircraft, disrupt critical emergency responses, and severely injure tightly packed spectators if control is lost. Operators caught flouting these crucial rules face an average fine of $250 for a first-time offense and potential criminal charges under the strict Canadian aviation regulations. Law enforcement utilizes highly classified interception technology to physically neutralize these aerial threats without causing dangerous crashes. Vocabulary. Intercept. Verb. 가로채다, 차단, 요격하다. Fighter jets were scrambled to quickly intercept the unknown aircraft. Unauthorized. Adjective. 승인되지 않은, 무허가의. Unauthorized personnel are strictly forbidden from entering the laboratory. Airspace. Noun. 영고, 상고. The military heavily controls the airspace right above the capital city. Deliberately. Adverb. 의도적으로, 고의로. The witness deliberately lied to protect his guilty brother. Rogue. Adjective. 통제를 벗어난, 제멋대로 구는. A rogue wave suddenly crashed over the deck of the ship. Collide. Verb. 충돌하다, 부딪히다. The two fast cars collided heavily at the busy intersection. Flout. Verb. 법. 규칙을 공공연히 무시하다. Many selfish drivers continue to flout the strict speed limits. Offense. Noun. 위반. 범죄. For a minor first offense, you will likely only get a warning. Classified. Adjective. 기밀해. 비밀 취급해. The spy successfully stole highly classified government documents. Neutralize. Verb. 무력화하다. 중화시키다. The heavily armed police neutralized the dangerous hostage situation. 안티드론 기술은 비행금지 구역이나 중요 보안 시설에 불법으로 접근하는 드론을 탐지하고 무력화하는 첨단 보안 서비스입니다. 단순히 드론을 총망으로 쏴서 물리적으로 파괴하면 무거운 기체가 군중 위로 추락해 큰 인명피해가 발생할 수 있습니다. 따라서 전파를 교란하여 제밍하여 조종자와의 통신을 끊거나 강제로 안전한 장소에 착륙하도록 조종권을 빼앗는 전파 납치, 스푸핑 등 비물리적이고 고도화된 기술이 경찰 작전에 주로 사용됩니다. 9-2. Canada's most wanted fugitive arrested in Spain. Al Boivin, infamously known as Canada's most wanted fugitive, has finally been apprehended in Spain after successfully evading law enforcement since February 2023. The 36-year-old suspect faces a severe barrage of serious criminal charges, including violent kidnappings, aggravated assaults, and international drug and weapons trafficking. Quebec Provincial Police proudly celebrated the high-profile arrest, calling it a major milestone for public safety and a massive blow to organized crime syndicates. The successful capture was solely the result of patient, long-term investigative coordination, heavily involving international police agencies and cross-border intelligence sharing. Authorities firmly stated that as criminal groups attempt to exploit international borders to escape justice, law enforcement must remain equally agile and determined. Vocabulary. Infamously. Adverb. 엉맹롭게. The pirate was infamously known for his cruel and ruthless behavior. Fugitive. Noun. 도망자. 탈주범. The escaped fugitive hid in the dark forest for over a week. Apprehend. Verb. 체포하다. 파악하다. The brave police officer managed to apprehend the armed robber. Evade. Verb. 피하다. 모면하다. The clever politician tried to actively evade the reporter's difficult questions. Barrage. Noun. 질문, 비난 등의 세례, 빗발침. The celebrity faced a huge barrage of questions from the press. Aggravated. Adjective. 가중 처벌이 되는, 악화된. He was arrested and quickly charged with highly aggravated assault. Trafficking. Noun. 불법 거래, 밀매. The police completely shut down the massive drug trafficking ring. Milestone. Noun. 이정표, 중대한 단계. Graduating from college is a very major milestone in life. Syndicate. Noun. 연합체, 범죄 조직. The international crime syndicate controlled the city's illegal gambling. Agile. Adjective. 민첩한, 기민한. Monkeys are extremely agile animals that can easily climb tall trees. 시사용어 해설. 범인인도 조약, extradition treaty. 인 한 국가에서 끔찍한 범죄를 저지르고 해외로 도망친 범죄자를 도망간 국가의 사법당국이 붙잡아 원래 죄를 지은 국가로 돌려보내 재판을 받게 하도록 맺는 국가 간의 법적 약속입니다. 알부아뱅은 스페인에서 잡혔지만 캐나다와 스페인 간의 이러한 조약에 따라 복잡한 신병인도 재판을 거쳐 결국 캐나다 법정에 서게 될 것입니다. 범죄의 국제화 시대에 국경을 초월한 인터폴, 국제형사경찰기구의 공조가 필수적인 이유입니다. 9.3. Ex-husband found guilty of murdering Titania Stefanski. Vitaly Stefanski has been officially found guilty of second-degree murder for the brutal 2024 killing of his ex-wife, Titania Stefanski, following a tense trial in British Columbia. A 12-person jury delivered the unanimous decision after hearing overwhelming evidence that Titania's body was discovered with numerous fatal stab wounds near a rural logging road. Although the accused initially confessed to the violent crime when emerging from the forest, he bizarrely fired his lawyer and attempted to convince the jury that the severe injuries were somehow self-inflicted. Crown prosecutors easily dismissed his contradictory testimony as entirely inconsistent with basic common sense and hard forensic DNA evidence. A second-degree murder conviction carries an automatic life sentence, heavily ensuring he will face no chance of parole for at least a decade. Vocabulary. Guilty. Adjective. 유죄. 죄책감이 드는. The jury finally found the defendant totally guilty of the robbery. Unanimous. Adjective. 만장일치해. The board members reached a rare unanimous decision on the merger. Fatal. Adjective. 치명적인, 죽음을 초래하는. He unfortunately suffered a highly fatal heart attack during the marathon. Stab. Verb. 찌르다. 명사. 자상. The attacker brutally stabbed the victim with a sharp knife. Initially. Adverb. 처음에, 초기에. I was initially opposed to the idea, but I completely changed my mind. Bizarrely. Adverb. 기이하게, 이상하게. He behaved quite bizarrely during the very formal job interview. Self-inflicted. Adjective. 자초한, 자해. The doctor confirmed that the knife wound was purely self-inflicted. Contradictory. Adjective. 모순되는, 반박하는. The two main witnesses gave completely contradictory statements. Forensic. Adjective.
법의학적인 범죄과학수사에 investigators found crucial forensic evidence at the bloody crime scene. Parole. Noun. 가석방. The prisoner will be fully eligible for parole after serving 10 years. 시사용어 해설. 1급 살인과 2급 살인은 영미법계에서 살인범죄의 형량을 가르는 중요한 법적 기준입니다. 1급 살인은 범행 전부터 치밀하게 계획하고 의도적으로 사람을 죽인 경우 plan and deliberate를 말하며 가장 무거운 처벌을 받습니다. 반면 2급 살인은 우발적으로 혹은 순간적인 격분으로 사람을 살해했을 때 적용되며 여전히 무기징역이 선고되지만 1급 살인보다는 형 집행 후 가석방을 신청할 수 있는 최소 복역 기간이 상대적으로 짧게 주어지는 차이가 있습니다.
10. DD India. 10.1. PM Modi hands over Made in India patrol vessel to Seychelles. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi proudly presented a state-of-the-art Made in India fast patrol vessel to Seychelles, deeply reaffirming New Delhi's strong commitment to the island nation's overall maritime security. During his significant 3-day state visit as the guest of honor for their Golden Jubilee National Day, Modi also generously handed over a fleet of new ambulances and versatile utility vehicles. This strategic development assistance is a core pillar of India's broader Vision Mahasagar, which ambitiously aims for mutual and holistic advancement across the entire Indian Ocean region. The highly symbolic diplomatic gesture highlights a rapidly deepening strategic partnership built firmly on shared cultural heritage and mutual trust. Furthermore, such proactive engagements are immensely crucial as India actively seeks to rapidly expand its geopolitical influence as a trusted, reliable ally in this contested maritime corridor. Vocabulary. State-of-the-art. Adjective. 최첨단의, 최신시계. The newly built hospital features totally state-of-the-art medical equipment. Reaffirm. Verb. 재확인하다. The president firmly reaffirmed his absolute commitment to world peace. Maritime. Adjective. 바다에, 해양에. The island country has a long, proud, and rich maritime history. Versatile. Adjective. 다재다능한, 다용도의. Eggs are an incredibly versatile ingredient used in many different recipes. Pillar. Noun. 기둥, 핵심적인 부분. Free speech is a highly fundamental pillar of any true democracy. Holistic. Adjective. 전체적인, 포괄적인. The clinic takes a holistic approach to treating both mind and body. Advancement. Noun. 발전, 진보. The recent discovery led to a massive advancement in internet technology. Symbolic. Adjective. 상징적인. The exchange of beautiful gifts was a highly symbolic gesture of deep friendship. Proactive. Adjective. 상황을 앞서서 주도하는. You must be proactive in managing your personal physical health. Corridor. Noun. 회랑, 통로, 지정학적 길목. The heavily guarded mountain pass was a very strategic military corridor. Number 10. 2. Bharat Taxi to expand to 500 cities in 2 years. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has officially launched Bharat Taxi, a totally cooperative-based mobility platform designed to deeply empower local drivers. Operating out of Gujarat initially, this highly transformative government initiative aims to provide highly reliable and affordable transport services to regular commuters while ensuring drivers retain ownership of their vital labor. The disruptive model is explicitly meant to aggressively combat the monopolistic exploitation historically seen in massive corporate ride-hailing apps. By completely eliminating exorbitant commission fees paid to greedy middlemen, drivers will keep a much larger, fairer share of their hard-earned daily revenue. Shah boldly stated that the highly ambitious platform plans to rapidly expand its operations to over 500 cities across India within just 2 short years. Vocabulary. Cooperative. Adjective / 명사. 협동조합의 협조적인. The local farmers formed a helpful cooperative to easily sell their fresh milk. Empower. Verb. 권한을 주다, 자율권을 주다. The special educational program empowers young women to confidently start businesses. Transformative. Adjective. 변화시키는, 혁신적인. The invention of the fast smartphone was a highly transformative event for global communication. Commuter. Noun. 통근자.
The packed morning train was entirely filled with tired, sleepy commuters. Disruptive. Adjective, 파괴적인, 혁신적인. The brilliant new startup introduced a highly disruptive technology to the old market. Monopolistic. Adjective, 독점적인. The giant company was heavily fined for its very unfair monopolistic practices. Exploitation. Noun, 착취, 이용. The documentary exposed the cruel exploitation of young child labor in the factory. Exorbitant. Adjective, 과도한, 터무니없는. The luxury hotel charged an exorbitant, unfair price for a simple bottle of water. Middleman. Noun, 중간상인, broker. By completely cutting out the middleman, you can buy the product much cheaper. Ambitious. Adjective, 야심찬, 패기 있는. The young manager proposed a highly ambitious plan to easily double the company's sales. 시사용어 해설. 협동조합 기반 플랫폼, cooperative-based platform은 우버나 그랩처럼 이윤을 극대화하려는 거대 민간 자본이 플랫폼을 소유하는 것이 아니라 플랫폼을 실제로 이용하고 노동을 제공하는 운전자들이 다 함께 주인이 되어 회사를 공동 소유하고 운영하는 경제 모델입니다. 이는 거대 플랫폼 기업이 독점적 지위를 이용해 막대한 중개 수수료를 떼어가는 플랫폼 갑질과 노동 착취를 방지하고 노동의 이익이 온전히 노동자, 기사와 소비자, 승객에게 돌아가게 만드는 공유 경제의 본질을 실현하려는 실험적인 정부 주도 정책입니다.
10.3. 6.2 magnitude earthquake hits Afghanistan. A tremendously strong earthquake, registering a terrifying 6.2 on the Richter scale, has violently struck the remote northeastern regions of Afghanistan. The National Center for Seismology meticulously pinpointed the exact epicenter near the rugged mountainous area of Faizabad, occurring exactly at 7:04 p.m. local time. Due to the quake's significantly deep tectonic origin, powerful and sustained tremors were widely felt across several vast parts of North India, including the densely populated capital city of Delhi, as well as the disputed territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Frightened, panicked residents in high-rise apartment buildings rapidly evacuated to safe open streets as the ground shook heavily beneath them. Fortunately, preliminary damage assessments suggest that absolutely no immediate structural casualties or massive destructions have been officially reported within Indian borders. Vocabulary register. Verb. 계기판 등에 기록하다, 등록하다. The massive earthquake registered a shocking 7.0 on the famous Richter scale. Remote. Adjective. 외딴, 멀리 떨어진. The tiny village is located in a very remote, quiet part of the high mountains. Seismology. Noun. 지진학. He studied seismology for many years to understand how big earthquakes suddenly happen. Pinpoint. Verb. 정확히 찾아내다, 집어내다. The highly skilled detectives finally pinpointed the exact location of the stolen treasure. Rugged. Adjective. 험준한, 바위투성이에. They drove their tough jeep over the very rugged, rocky mountain terrain. Tectonic. Adjective. 지질구조에, 지각 변동에. Major earthquakes are mostly caused by shifting underground tectonic plates. Tremor. Noun. 진동, 떨림. I felt a slight, scary tremor in the solid ground just before the huge eruption. Evacuate. Verb. 대피하다, 철수하다. All residents were forced to quickly evacuate the tall building when the loud fire alarm rang. Preliminary. Adjective. 예비에, 임시에. The initial preliminary test results show that the new experimental drug is highly effective. Casualty. Noun. 사상자, 피해자. There were thankfully no terrible casualties reported after the huge train derailment. 시사용어 해설. 신발 지진. Deep focus earthquake. Tectonic origin. depth는 지각 표면과 가까운 곳에서 땅이 찢어지는 천발 지진, 얕은 지진과 달리 지하 수십에서 수백 킬로미터 아래의 매우 깊은 지각이나 멘틀 내부에서 발생하는 지진입니다. 진원이 깊기 때문에 진앙 바로 위 지역의 건물이 박살나는 직접적인 파괴력은 얕은 지진보다 덜할 수 있지만 지진파의 에너지가 흡수되지 않고 땅속을 타고 멀리까지 전달되기 때문에 수백 킬로미터 떨어진 다른 국가의 수도, 예 인도 뉴델리에서도 높은 건물이 출렁이는 큰 흔들림을 느끼게 되는 특징이 있습니다.